I don't know if you realize this, but the opening song of The Promised Neverland hints at what Rey was going to do in this episode. Not many manga readers most likely caught that as well, but in the lyrics of the song, when you hear fire, obviously it's directly connected with what Rey was going to do and how they were going to initiate their escape. Because when you really think about it, the start of all of this, the go-ahead, the signal was the fire. So, seeing the opening song have the lyrics fire in it, there you go. You put A and B together, you're like, whoa. The planning to that, the foreshadowing, that's pretty high quality. But anyways, though, Rey, it is definitely amazing to see that scene animated. When my boy Rey literally like, you know what? I'm gonna die. If I'm gonna die, I'd rather take myself out in the way I want. For instance, I'd rather deny you the meal that these demons want. I'd rather deny you to where you fell and your record is tarnished. That's what Rey was doing. He was being the absolute pinnacle of pettiness, or doing what anyone would do. If they realized they were going to die, they would take matters into their own hands and die the way they would want. And that right there, I love that scene. I just love how Rey was just so determined to say, it's over, I'm dead, but I'm going to go out like I want. And I would just love that. I love that entire moment. I loved it in the manga, and I love seeing it in the anime, and I love the depiction of Rey's face when he looked really unhinged in that moment, because you gotta imagine from his POV, okay? As we saw from Norman a few episodes back, Norman sacrificed himself, okay? And he had to think and contemplate that his life was over. And we saw how emotional he got, but then he put on a strong mask, and, you know, he decided to sacrifice himself. And Rey, since the very beginning, since, you know, he was very young, like when he was first born, he was already determined to die. He was already under that impression. So, what we saw Norman go through a few episodes back was something that Rey has already had to do many times over. He's had a lot of time, years, to contemplate his existence and what his final moments will be. So you gotta imagine how powerful that was for Rey. When he finally did that, he's been thinking about this for 6+ to, like, 12 years. He's been thinking that long about taking himself out and denying the entire farm his, you know, meat. For instance, they don't get his product whatsoever. So that right there, I love that, because Rey right there, he fits so perfectly with what someone would do if they were in his position and had that long of a time to think about what to do. Now, that's what made that scene so powerful to Rey and why he acted like he did when Emma saved him. Because once again, as I said, Rey was someone that was determined to die. He's had so many years that he thought he was going to die. And when Emma just comes out of nowhere, saves him, and then gives him another way, and Norman outsmarts him after all these years of planning, after Rey's been planning for so many years, Norman comes out of nowhere and just completely destroys his plan, demolishes it. He's like, what the hell? And, you know, you can see the look of shock on his face. He cannot believe that he's still alive. There was another way, and he never saw that. So, you gotta imagine, it's a man that thought he was dead, but now has, in some cases, the will to live. He doesn't think he's going to die now. He's like, in just shock. He actually has been given a longer life than he thought. So yeah, it's a great moment. I just love the moment with Emma and Rey in this episode because it demonstrates survival at its peak. What someone would do for their survival, what someone would do to save others as well in the terms of selfless nature. But okay, let's talk about what Emma did and what Rey did. So Rey, like I said, he poured gasoline all over himself, which is hardcore. But then, that is nothing in comparison to what Emma did. Emma legit snipped her own ear off just to be able to navigate away from Isabella to get out. That was a powerful moment for Emma because she has legit lost a body part. Now, granted, even if you lose the outside exterior of your ear, you could still technically hear because the inner workings of your ear is kind of inside, but it's still going to cause some hearing problems in the future. But Emma losing her ear like that is a really insane step. That just shows what they have to do to be able to get out of this, and Emma sacrificed her own ear just to be able to initiate this, and so that's crazy. I mean, when you see how Isabella grabs the ear and she looks at it, it's so disturbing because Emma was determined that much, to be able to snip her own ear off and try to initiate the escape plan. That's pretty insane. Because we gotta look at this from the outsider's perspective on what's going on here. Emma doing something like that is actually dangerous, because with her snipping her ear off, blood loss could set in. It's gonna take a little bit, but obviously, the lack of blood would eventually cause it where she might slow down, and she might not perform properly, especially in this, escape plan. So even if, they manage to get out, it's gonna cause a lot of problems long term, because, it's not just the fact that her hearing might be messed up, it's also the fact that she is going to probably get an infection, because they're going to be going out into a world that they really don't know much about. They don't know what is out there. They don't know if there's human civilizations that can fix up Emma. We don't know if it's nothing but a demon world out there. There's really no clarification on this whatsoever. So Emma might not be able to get medical treatment, any, doctors to look at her and fix that up. So right now, Emma could become a liability to the team as time progresses, because she could actually get sick. And the same could be said for many of these children, actually. And that's really something that many of them probably haven't thought about, is the long term. What happens if one of them gets a serious injury, gets sick? Can they be able to fix themselves up? Is it going to be a-okay? Because they really don't even have a home to sit down and rest. Because with this, escape plan, they're going to have to keep moving. They can't just stop outside of the prison. They're going to have to, keep moving. They cannot stop whatsoever, or they're caught. So yeah, I wanted to point out that Emma's wound might lead into some dire consequences as time progresses. Now, I don't know if we'll probably get into that element of the show, like maybe this season, or even get clarification or not for, season 1, but we'll have to see. Now, anyways, let's talk about Isabella for a second. Isabella, I love how she was so off her game for most of this episode. Like, she seemed like everything was going a-okay. You heard the bell clock to 12, and she's like, happy birthday and all that. You just see how she reacted to knowing that was Ray's shipment date. And then all of a sudden, she hears Emma scream Ray. She actually starts to get worried. She's just looking at, Emma and all that, like, what's going on? And when she looks at the, the watch, like, in her clock or whatever, and she sees that Ray's signal is inside the fire, and she's like, this is not a joke. This isn't a game. And she instantly tried to put out the fire, get everyone out of the room, get out of the house, because she was trying to protect her product. That's what she was doing. That was her instinct. Like, she needs to protect the product, and she's like, even if I can't save Ray's body, I need to at least save the brain, because that's what they want. And so when you see how she goes in and she's trying to get Ray out, that's insane, because she was completely off her game. She wasn't really able to think straight, because this is probably not a situation that many of them might be used to, even the mothers, because they would never expect the children to initiate a fire in the house. But also, I like the double-layered plan. When you see how the kids blocked up the door to where Isabella couldn't get inside, that was a very critical moment, because that basically means that Isabella cannot notify headquarters about the escape plan. So there's just no way to get in there. With the fire raging and then the door blocked off, she can't really do much to get in there and to notify them instantly. But also, that would mean that she needs to take it into her own hands and catch these children. It's kind of like the final game of tag. Can she catch any children before everything is said and done? Will some of them fail to escape? Will, they all escape? That's a big question, because now, with Isabella left up to her own devices, it's going to cause a lot of havoc now, because she needs to get in there and just, stop them. All these children pretty much know now about the truth. They know that what this is a farm, so that means that she no longer needs to hide it. She just needs to make sure that they can't do anything, and she makes it to where, they're incapacitated. So she might start breaking everybody's leg just to make sure they're not going to run away. Which, by the way, Phil, at the end of the episode, a very creepy moment, and it makes you really wonder what's going on here. Phil grabs Isabella, it's like, Mama, and all that, and it's weird, because you're like, what the hell? Because of all characters, or just the children, everybody's supposed to be with Emma. That's what's been established. Emma wants to escape with everyone. And there's been a lot of planning for these past few months for that. And they went around Ray just to be able to get these children out. But then all of a sudden this Phil's there looking at Isabella, and you're like, what's happening? What's happening right now? And it makes you wonder, is this finally going to tell us what Phil is, like what's going on with him, because I mean, when you really think about it, Phil is, as an individual, he has been very shady since the very beginning. Ever since his character introduction, we've seen him, he's always been in places that are very critical. It's like he knows what's going on, but he hasn't said anything, and you don't really know. Was he a spy for Grandma? Was he working for Isabella? Was he on his own side? Is he like Ray? You know, there's a lot of questions that you can get from Phil, and so seeing Phil at the end of this episode, it raises some red flags. Like, is Phil gonna finally reveal that, like, oh, he's a demon or something, and take out Isabella? What really is gonna happen is the question that many of us have after this episode. So anyways, what else to get into? I guess that's pretty much about it. I mean, it's a good episode. Like, it has a lot of action, crazy moments, it's intense, and I just love how right now we're gonna have it where Isabella, she's gonna try to hunt these kids down, but thanks to Phil, it seems to have thrown her off a little bit, so we'll have to see where that's gonna go. But yeah, that's about it. Episode's great. Tell me your thoughts in the comments below, how you felt about this week's episode. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Be honest in the comments below. I love you guys. Please be safe. Chibi out.